Greetings. Let's give an honor to the source, to the creator, the most high. As y'all can see, I have I am the, how do they say it in Spanish? Negro? No. Indigenous Harry Potter. Yeah. Let's give honor to the source, to the creator, the most high, for making all this possible. That y'all know how I get to the, let's give an honor to the ancestors known and unknown as well. I don't even know how I want to dive into this, because how could I say this? How could I get really into this? So, I'm now uploading more content to my other channel that I have. So a lot of probably this video is probably gonna be shared to my previous channel, my first channel. And then because I have so much in advance on the other channel, like preparation, to where a part of me is not posting, but it's almost like preparing myself for, like, I'm already departing, but it's more so like preparation for like going away from consistently doing that shit, like for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in September. And it's wild because I think my last video on there is in September. It's fucking wild. And I think it's around a certain day or around a certain time, which is wild. So I don't know, I might post this on there. This may be the last previous video. I mean, well, I'm uploading more on my new channel, but yeah, and still, I wanted to really talk about, like, even just my journey and the process of like how things unfold and how generationally or ancestrally navigating through the shadows, navigating through things generationally, the clarity, the awareness, the process of that, how it unfolds. For me, what a lot of people probably don't know is, like, I went through a lot of shit when it came to obtaining like a passport. That process, I don't think I ever talked about this, but I'm looking at the laptop, by the way, but what I also wanted to discuss is related to like being a good judgment of character. What is this? I got an email, I'm trying to think. That's interesting. I'm sitting here talking about something. I got an opportunity, but somewhere. So, yeah, I was talking about being a good judgment of character. I can honestly say, no, I haven't. And I had to learn that because character development starts from child development. And the reason I'm going into this is because it ties into, trying to set up this phone. It ties into like even my whole identity, like my name, connected to my name. And I feel like a lot of us are going to be getting a lot of clarity, because like a lot of things I've learned, even with doing like shadow work or even things mentally, spiritually, and so forth, you also come into different awareness about what it is that you're trying to progress your lineage and how that is, and you're going through the lessons and so forth. So I had a big thing. I had a big thing around like, which is so fucking crazy. Like, okay, so I'm gonna just tell you what happened. When I just walked into the library to book a room and stuff, like to study room, there was you know, I told them like I didn't bring my library card, and they've seen me countless times, so they're able to look up, or you give them your ID and so forth. For people who don't know, like I've had a lot of things that how could I say this? Like a lot of challenges when it came to my identification, like when it come to like even my name. My name is Terrence, so that there is it can be spelled so many different ways. Some people spell it, I think, sometimes with one R, two R's, sometimes with an A, sometimes with an E. My issue was this. Imagine 3 times you're trying to get your passport. The third time it happened, they say third time's a charm. So the first 2 times, I had offers to play. I got an opportunity to play overseas, and that was just where I didn't have no type of guidance, no type of support towards nothing. And this good judgment of character thing comes into play because it really reflects like the support you have when you're young, and people walking in integrity, walking in not just righteousness, but walking upright, or aligning their words with their actions. Not to say people don't make mistakes, but just aligning the very things with the importance of integrity, honoring themselves, and so forth. So that good judgment and character, I realized, like, not only just affected up to like certain parts of my life, but I realized like in that, not knowing how to be a good judgment and character showed me how now in being judged and judging others, that that's a mirror effect. So for me, I realized like I learned how to be a good judgment and character through my personal experiences, through my experiences with people, family and friends and so forth, business and so forth. So let me show you how this shit pans out. So my first opportunity to play overseas, I want to say, was 2016, 17. And I just got this random opportunity to play in South America, from like being in this league in Charlotte, North Carolina, like what they call like, it's called SEBA, like Spanish league. And, I was just more so focused on, of course, winning, but more so like having fun, competitiveness, and so forth. I had no idea that I would be presented with an opportunity to play overseas from the director. And that shit went on for years, bro. Like, it went on for like probably 2 or 3 years, where it's almost like I tried to tell this man, like, oh yeah, I can, kept saying I'm ready, but he needed me to be ready then. I had no idea how to get my passport. Even if I would have tried back then, I would have said, like, I could have seen the clarity, but I was so distracted with what I was in, the relationship, the codependency, the mental, the verbal, the self-sacrificing, the overgiving. I mean, so many things y'all don't realize. Like, I have no regrets or shame, but the abusiveness on both sides. I didn't really have stability. Had I been focused more on the opportunity that was presented, I was more focused on like letting the people know that I was leaving. But in the process, I didn't even attempt to even truly go get my passport. And I had the opportunity right there in my lap. That being said, even still being skilled in basketball, I'm 36 now, but even still, that's like over 10 years ago. That's fucking crazy. But even still being skilled in that and all that, like years later, I was still playing. got into, I believe, more modeling, but I was still active. What I know now is that a lot of those things reflected. I realized like a lot of the support wasn't genuine. A lot of people didn't care. Um, a lot of things I realized that, or had I had the awareness that I did now, I honestly, we can say, you know how people say I would have done things differently. I actually wouldn't even trip because I knew that wasn't like I was just telling the people at the library. I was like, yeah, I'm actually going through some shit with my identity now. And people don't know that. Like, I realized that there's much more connected to the fact of my own experience. Like, it took me over, like, y'all don't realize it took me over fucking 30. I think, when did I get my passport? In 2022 or three, I don't know. And then when I officially got it, like before that, I was in California modeling in a similar situation with someone that, again, I recognized a lot of this was teaching me my own inability to recognize what stability was for me. And it wasn't just a physical thing. It was how I went from relationship to relationship without healing, without facing myself, without recognizing that if you could have went through all of this, you could take time out to get to know yourself more, deeper and deeper. That's the beauty of all of this now, and I'm recognizing how things, the opportunity, they still present themselves. It's just in a different way. And I ask myself, like, just like now, I email and I'm saying like, yo, where did this come from? But even with that, I tell myself this, the whole name thing, like I was attempting to, no, before reflecting, I realized the pattern that I had from going, my inability to stabilize myself emotionally inside, which I was running from, which again, all of this energy, all of these things, I feel like karmically I was planned out to be here now before I had children, was all a part of a generational cycle or pattern that I've recognized that a part of the patriarchal or men in my family who I realized I was a part of restoring or being restored. I was like, yo, what's really going on? And I have a deeper awareness now of obtaining more of the peace to now, had I went out and did things, I could say like, there's no telling what I would have got into had I went to Colombia, South America by myself. Like really, it's no telling like, and I'm not saying like it would have been horrible, but it's just no telling like with how I could not control myself sexually, the impulses, the lust, and even to the fact that like that was an opportunity to step into independence. You see what I'm getting at? To stand on my own 2 feet or do things differently. But I recognize like even through that codependency, similarly to California, meeting people, more like in modeling, like really distracting. And that's where I like around 2017, 18 had like what they call like a spiritual awakening. And I didn't even realize like a lot of this shit was gonna happen. Like I didn't even think nothing of that. But it wasn't until like I met certain people that was aligned with my path, who I would have never thought went through certain things with me, not to mention like being, what is it, like 2,500 or 3,000 miles away from where I grew up at. Like I took a whole like leap of faith to step into territories that were unfamiliar. That's just kind of like me living life on edge, or like, it's almost like I could say looking at death in the face or recognizing it in a way of like being fearless with or without money. It was just the opportunity that I realized like everywhere I went, I realized I prospered. Coming from around 16, 17, coming out of a relationship that was abusive, to meeting someone online, know nothing about, y'all don't hear me, I knew nothing about this individual. Went and stayed, but again, I was more caught up in shit that I get clarity of now. whole time I feel like this individual, like, yeah, I don't think people realize. I was talking to one of my soul brothers about that. Like, I don't think people realize, like, we be getting to shit we don't even know who folk really is. And it's like, even now, being where I am now, I still don't even know. When you don't grow up in foundations, being a good, this goes to good judgment of character. When you grow up in foundations, for all you know, people could have bodies on them. Like, you know what I mean? Like people who take people out of here. And I grew up around people who were part of gangs or people that were a part of stuff and done stuff. But you know, you think this is just fantasy until you actually meet people who are involved in certain, I want to use the word rankings, but just a part of things. And then all, not just physically, career-wise and stuff, but that shit still reflect something spiritually. So I'm going to dive into a part of being a good judgment of characters also has a lot to do with being spiritually attuned and recognizing who you are, because in that you don't realize, like, you're unconsciously taking on someone else's karma and you have no idea. Let me not get distracted. I don't look at something. Oh my gosh, I'm getting inspired because I'm on Pinterest. This is crazy. I get inspired by art on here. What the bruh? It's crazy. Okay, anywho. So focus. So again, I'm reflecting because y'all know, people who follow astrology and stuff, retrogrades are amazing, especially like retrogrades, like really, what is this sister called? Akashic, what is it? Akashic Prince. She talked about this and spoke about like how people don't realize, like, it's different for a lot of people, because I'm ruled by, like, Gemini moon, but Mercurial is what they call it. So I get a lot of clarity. I get a lot of insight around certain transits. So it's different for a lot of people when certain things are transiting through certain signs. So for me, I'm getting mad, like clarity on reflecting. When doing the inner work and shadow work, you get clarity on, like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I was so divinely protected. What the fuck was I thinking? Or I wasn't thinking at all. I wasn't being discerning at all. And I start to realize, like, yo, again, that opportunity I jumped into, like, I recognize now this whole individual, like, after all the things they told me, it's just like being in a relation. Like, you start to sit there and be like, what the fuck? What am I doing this? Why am I in this? And a part of you, like, again, what people don't recognize, in a spiritual sense, you take on, and it ain't just like when you have a child, because that's a whole nother contract or spiritual thing. But when you come into someone else's world, I start to recognize, like, what I know now, the false empowerment or the powerlessness that these individuals had, because for one, my character wasn't the same. Or in not knowing how to be a good judgment of character, I realized, like, you'll take on these characteristics or traits and take on this idea, like, if you didn't learn when you were young, like, the importance of, like, people telling you, like, vet people, get to know them, nonverbal cues, observe, recognize, red flags, so many different things that, again, when you grow up on these foundations of the world and what it has been, control, manipulation, narcissistic templates, I get so much clarity now on so many situations to where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I stepped out into my own power, or I reflected on myself, or I became more clear on, and not so much judging other people. What is this teaching me? And then stepping into my power, and then stepping more into who I am, I start to recognize, like, oh shit, I dodged a bullet. It ain't just one bullet. I dodged a whole bunch of stuff, because I'm telling you, in so many different things, as you start to get, I quoted this before, or like I quoted this, not I quoted this, but I heard this from someone, but it was so, it just resonated with me. And they were like, what did she say? Was it her? Was it her? She was like, when you live in truth, the authenticity, you gotta realize like, yo, um, like when you live in truth, when they say the truth comes to the light, anything that's done in the dark, like what people do, eventually, like those who are in tune or have natural gifts, it'll be in a dream state, it'll be revealed to you through actions or whatever it is. By simply you living in, holding that frequency of truth or authenticity, it'll literally come out. And especially if people aren't, if they like in their own spiritual warfare or internal battle, they've had foundations of manipulating people, stepping on people on the way to the top and so forth. And no matter how externally attractive or beautiful you think they present themselves, like a trophy or whatever it is, or money and career, it's like being a good judgment, being a good judgment of character is it not just physically, that shit reflects the spiritual as well, because that's something I had to recognize, like as I became more in tune, when I did go away from family, a lot of things I didn't recognize but became more clear. So it's like seeing beyond the physical vessel, seeing beyond what people look like. We all are going through something. People are all going through something internally. And one of my biggest issues was trying to save, and this was the mother wound, was trying to save, you know, that mother wound was giving birth to that distorted patriarchal that I represented. And, you know, and in that I start to recognize like a part of me was in conflict or battle with like, this isn't me, or in me trying to be me, why don't people get me? And so I start to learn now, like, when it comes to anybody in the past or like relationships and so forth, it's so vital and rewarding to be in integrity, because I remember like being modeling and this person telling me like, oh, you know, this and this when it came to the relationship and so forth. But a lot of things I started to recognize now, a lot of that stuff was centered around not just manipulation, but control, because I knew how much of a free spirit or how like liberated I was when it comes to wanting to be liberated or just be who I was without control and all this other stuff. One thing I recognize again, not having a firm, like being a good judgment of character when it came to people. So the whole time, you know, for me, things will happen to where like some things will come to me, and I could say sometimes it would be subconscious fears, or some things would just be revealed to me spiritually, you know, through visions or something like that. I will pick up on things with people. And again, some of us not knowing like what the fuck this means, like what does this mean? Da 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 da. Now, the whole time, I told you people have gifts. You have gifts to realize like you're divinely protected for a reason. You're a path, because in your ignorance, ignoring the signs, you start to recognize like this shit is for your like bigger picture. I would not even have created this YouTube, created my art, really and be in alignment with what I love, had I like, if it was meant for me to go overseas, if it was meant for me to be in that relationship or stay in this. No, I actually, when you know within yourself, like where I'm at, I'm like, yo, these people or these individuals, these characters are placed on my path for me to see something bigger and greater. Whether this person, it was just solely on sex or something, lower nature and so forth, or this person, it was just money, or this person, and through all of that shit, something was revealed. What is this teaching me? And it's different for everyone. So going back to even the fact of like the good judgment of character, it was so much shit that happened when I was there. Like now I got clarity of like, I had no idea who I was with. Like once I started getting clarity of certain shit, I started seeing people completely change. Certain stuff, like the energy and so much stuff, as I came into a deeper awareness of myself spiritually, there was something bigger at play. I it's like you gotta really follow my progress of or just this process of it's something much more to your life when you realize this shit is not so much like a video game, it's like a puzzle piece when you start to realize there's something greater on your life. And it's like even when you meet certain people, they know it too. They know it, but they never talk about it. Or like I've told y'all about, even with my artistry, I knew to the depths of me that this was bigger than art. This was something to where how in certain moments when I would create my art, there will be something uncomfortable that comes up out of a person. And I start to recognize now that a lot of these things karmically, or a lot of these things I was going through had a lot to do with what people were going through, to where they never felt valued, or they never had the privilege to really be in their authenticity or their fullness or their wholeness. So a part of what karmic relationships or lessons that we go through is to either mirror that back, or for us to gain that self-awareness of you never needed their validation. You never needed their acceptance. You never needed their approval. And a lot of these relationships, I realized, stem from the root of either what I felt like I didn't receive, or had the privilege to receive when I was young. And that's even through family dynamic, like with having kids, sibling rivalries, how my mother and father, all of those things represented and reflected a part of my character development. And now seeing the importance of being a good judgment of character. Like I said, I didn't know my fucking real name until I had to go through the third time of getting my passport, bro. And having to realize yo, you're supposed to get something's not coming up with your name right. I'm what? So before I get into that, it was crazy shit going on when I was in Cali, where I felt like this individual knew more about me on a deeper level than what I knew about myself. So that's to say this, a lot of y'all have a purpose and a calling that sometimes it's the people want to cast illusions over how much they can give you. And some of the times it ain't even them. It's so much shit is spiritual that so much shit want to bind you to it so that you don't progress or make progress in your lineage. Do you see what I'm saying? Part of breaking generational curses and cycles has a lot to do with the very things you don't want to know about a person or don't want to know about yourself. The divine revealed to your fucking ass, because you're here to do something greater. And then sometimes when people want to play God, or want to play in that position of they have all this power, that right there is a clear indication, not just a red flag, but how powerless they are. Because some of these dynamics truly reveal that a lot of people didn't have the privilege to even stand in their power. When you have your wounds preyed on very young, childhood woundings and shit like that, a lot of people go into what they do not loving it, but becoming complacent. And then in that, when they're not happy with themselves or they haven't made peace, they eventually become controlling or impulsive or manipulative. I was fucking there, or I was subjected to it unconsciously because it started in my childhood. So I'm like, oh shit, let me put them up on game, put them on speed. That's why you always hear me talk about the matriarchal, because I'm a reflection of the matriarchal. And then I also, in breaking generational cycles and so forth, I know the rewards is gonna come from this shit. I'm just a vessel, but I'm grateful, but I'm fearless with it. At the same moment, again, the good judgment of character also goes to the fact of who I was connected with. I know, and I don't even know if they'll see this, but I know to the depths, because some of us who are in tune know that certain people know that we know shit now. It's so much deeper to where if you have a calling and a purpose, you can have a purpose to be a new leader in this new order, a new world of things that's being implemented. Just as anybody came up from when they were a childhood and people were trying to tell them that they were supposed to be this, and the whole time the divine you got an anointing or a prophecy is being written, or it was already written in the stars. So you assuming that you're supposed to be this whole time. It's people in your fucking lineage, your family. Knowing the calling and purpose that you have. Know that, like, sometimes you living out a fucking movie. Whole time the movie that you seeing on TV, the Cinderellas, the Harry Potters, or whatever the fuck it is, whole time you that shit is about you. You wondering why you connect so much to a fucking movie. And that shit, that's your spiritual insight and connection. So the whole time I'm telling myself, like, it's like I couldn't give y'all so much because it would be too much at once, but I was just giving more insight on a lot of people. And I start to recognize, like, some shit, it ain't even them. Those who know, like, who are in tune, start to recognize, like, again, quoting, what is it, Ezekiel? Matter of fact, I got a fucking laptop right here. What is that? Ezekiel. Don't get me to try to spell shit. Easy, yeah, literally. Flesh. That's not the one, for we don't. What's that verse? For we don't fight with. Is it spiritual warfare? No. And high. What is that verse? Oh yeah, a lot of this shit playing out for sure right now that's being exposed. Oh, something that came up that I didn't even. High places, leadership corruption, Ezekiel 22 to 25. Oh no, Ezekiel chapter 22, 25 to 20. Describes leaders as roaring lions and wolves, devouring souls and getting dishonest gain. Judgment coming to all of them. I already see that happening. Low places, general public. Okay. The people of the land are accused of oppression, robbery, and mistreatment of the poor, needy, and foreigners. That's being exposed right now. Somebody, who was that? I was just talking about that. Like, somebody was just talking about that, like how people can come over here and get all this treatment. That's why I keep telling y'all about the hidden black hand, or the shit that you don't see. If you just assume that it's just people of lighter shade that's just been a part of it, it's all shades. And then on a spiritual level, it's the powers that used to be. It's a spiritual thing. What you see publicly is spiritual. What you see in leadership is all fucking spiritual. Those who know. And even adultery, like when I see some of these people, y'all don't realize, like, when you become in tune, some people have the vision to see spirits, and some people can pick up on the disgust of some people who parade themselves a certain way. I just, I'll be sitting here and I know those, and I'll be like this. Ugh. And that's solely because it's been a process or a journey of healing and coming more into depth about who you are. So it's just like certain shit, I'll just be like, yeah, no. I wouldn't ever come into agreement with certain people that are like on this fucking planet or on earth right now with certain shit, because that's the thing. They don't want you. And that's been a good judgment of character is also being discerning in the spirit. That's a gift. So I don't got a lot of clarity years later on a lot of people that the divine revealed shit to me about them. And I'm sure people probably got, and that's another thing too. The divine also revealed insight on you too. And those who like, that's why I tell people, I don't get into a lot of that spiritual community shit. And I had discernment very young when I grew up in the church. I could see shit that other people couldn't see. I would recognize, or I would basically, when I say see, I could pick up on shit. And I realized like being a good judgment of characters, also realizing like how to, I saw this earlier today, like how, dang, I got stuff coming to me as I'm talking, but well, what is that other one? It's another verse that came up in my head where it's like, talk about remove yourself, like go to the mountains. It's referencing something like how people, as you during these times of the golden age or age of information and stuff coming in, again, that's gonna be great deception as well. Cause y'all don't realize like a lot of this desperation and a lot of spiritual warfare is a lot of things where you can see like the ramping. Matter of fact, I'll give you like this shit that's happening with the weather, that's spiritual. I'm talking about how shit be 70 degrees. None of that shit is normal. When you go, like, when you start to look at different, once you start to see shit spiritually, you start to realize this shit ain't normal. This shit is to keep people not just depressed, but keep people questioning and not, it's a form of spiritual warfare, not to keep people grounded and stable. So, dang, what was that verse when it was like, go to the mountains? It was something, it's gonna come to me, but it was referencing that because how people, like it talks about how your brothers and sisters, you know, they're gonna become like they're liars and so forth. Because when people are not in tune, they're not balanced or they're not secure in something, they don't realize like how misled they have been by said entity or spirit or something like that. Because again, for we don't fight with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness or principalities in high and low places. It didn't give me that verse, but I gotta read more because a lot of these books ain't nothing but codes and shit that you start to read, and that's funny because you know how they reference the flesh and blood. When it comes to flesh, is just like the physical. I see it as a physical realm, and then blood naturally is represents something like spiritual because what's inside of you. Like what runs through your veins holds a much significance. Like blood is very powerful when it comes to spiritual work, root work, some call it. There's a reason why even people don't know like why you sign ink in black, blue, and even red. Like a lot of that shit is spiritual. So even with that, and a lot of these things are being reversed in that because when you think about people taking an oath and signing certain shit, a lot of it has very significance to that. So again, where was I getting to? So a lot of this this being a good judgment of character is the divine revealing to us individually and what's happening right now, where a lot of people are going to probably later on or now coming into the awareness of some of you are high ranking spiritually. I made a video on my other page, Terrence Mighty One, referencing that. It's like y'all get confused with y'all confuse earthly ranking with spiritual ranking. And reason being a lot of this is so significant is because most of the world has believed everything to just be physical. And that's been the greatest deception and delusion for a lot of people. Don't realize everything is always spiritual first. It will always be. The spirit realm. That's why certain people in high ranking, even in certain earthly positions, these people still have ranking spiritually. And at the same moment, they will come to the realization. I told y'all later on how certain people have a higher ranking. And this is where, when they say the meek is inherent to the earth, because y'all don't realize a lot of people who was perceived as the meek was being hidden in plain sight to be a representation of a higher ranking individual that walks this earthly plane. Y'all just look at this shit physical the whole time. That person on the street that's going through something, because they're going through their own spiritual warfare. They're going through, you don't know what's attached to them. You don't know what they're trying to break generationally. You don't know what they're experiencing. So with that, you just assume, you judge. And at the same moment, as the tables are turning already and the last is being made first, this is why some people don't realize like how they planted seeds and how they collected karma or created more karma. And that's what I'm recognizing now when it comes to the whole time. Like the reward is so beautiful as you walk in integrity, because you realize like the seeds that you planted seeds of authenticity and integrity. That's what you'll get back in return energetically in the physical. It's your fruit. So this is why, like, I had to learn too, even being a good judgment of characters, also the discernment is the divine protecting you from someone who had an opportunity to be in integrity with you, to be supportive, or to even, grant you with something to either create more karma for themselves or to clear the path where you could become allies if you were seen as an enemy. And so this is where a lot of things I realized, like, even with my whole name thing, like I went through a whole bunch of shit to where I thought there's certain things are supposed to happen for me. Now it's on a deeper level where I realized there's something bigger connected to who I am. And I didn't know that then, but now that I know that now, the discernment is even more powerful. My path, my journey, my experience is even more, it's exciting now. It's rewarding because at a point in time where, let's say, people say, well, I've heard since young, do whatever people are going through. You ain't shit, or this and that. Why you doing this? Yada, yada, yada. And again, whole time, people have the opportunity to be supportive. They have the opportunity to, and this is why a good judgment of character is so important, because I have to go off the root of what I went through and to realize, like, this is why I don't associate myself with people no more. This is why I realized, like, a part of what I had to go through in not associating or connecting myself with them. This is why I realized, like, now I don't have to take on or even take on anything karmically that they're going through, because it's like it lightens my load. And this is where, again, learning now in building a foundation off integrity and building something off of truth and honesty and so forth, that not only reveals who someone is physically, but sometimes the divine will reveal to you what's spiritually going on with them. For those, or sometimes that rejection is your protection. And again, everyone they don't sit like my name thing. It's like, it bothered me so much for people to know, like, it took me to go get my fucking original birth certificate to recognize that my name was spelled with an E. Yeah, I know it took me over 30 years to recognize that. I know some people like say, oh shit, well, you should have known it. No, bro, I've been spelling my name, and not even just that. I was spelling my middle name completely wrong for 20 something, almost 30 years, putting it on paperwork. And my dad wasn't, like, he was there, but it was just the fact of, like, being a junior and the whole time realizing, like, my middle name was Andre. Well, I was saying Andre to people, and it was Andrew. I get my birth certificate, the whole time I'm finding out my name is Andrew. So this whole time, I'm doing paperwork. Imagine what you do in the first 30 years of your life, 30 something. You're signing shit. You're signing, like, I'm going to school, I'm going to college. Whole time. It's like someone, you think you scamming yourself. You've been scammed since, I was like, when I found out that, and then it kind of found out my mom didn't even know how to spell my name. And it's not to shame her, it's just to show you, like, what people were focused on And some people you grow up with did not finish school. They got street smarts, but it's like the education, you know, it's just, it ain't even just the education. It's just the fact of like the simplest things. People don't know like a lot of things generationally when it comes to like common sense of things, that shit really reflects discernment and being intuitive. Because I'm gonna tell you who's dangerous. A person not just on the street smart and come from experience, but a person who is spiritual and street smart. Not just this worldly shit that y'all get consumed by and think you have to have. Again, all of that stuff is connected to spiritual contracts, being binded to something. Then you have to, like when you look at debt and all this other shit, that shit is spiritual too. Spiritual karmic debt. People have to clear stuff. This is not talked about enough. When you want to know it, when you breaking generational patterns and cycles, that's you clearing something spiritually. And when you know that, you start to recognize, like, look at people, look at, y'all about to start to see clearly for a lot of us at what clearing karma spiritually is. Because everyone like to say karma, karma, karma. There is a reward in knowing that what you're doing ain't in vain. And it's only you that can do it. So then I don't have to question or be worried about what my children will receive. If I'm setting intentions and I'm living shit out with integrity, what is that? I just quoted that. It was like what is that? The Art of War, and someone had posted this. This shit hit me so deep. It was like, you don't have to fight your enemies. You don't have to fight your enemies. What the fuck? I have to look it up too. You don't have to fight your enemies, but it's something like that. And that it gave me much more clarity to where it's like, it makes sense now on honoring the ancestors of the highest good, especially to where when they say that you are the one, y'all love to use that oversaturated shit about being chosen. But a lot of people ain't choosing to do what they, better, or to actually elevate, or, to do things differently. And, to elevate their lineage and shit. But it was a quote. It's on my page. I got to go to my page. What did that quote say? It was an Art of War. And that shit hit me deep, boy. I was like, ooh, wee. Okay. Come on. Where is it? You don't destroy your enemies by fighting them. You destroy your enemies by outlasting them. You know what's so funny? Like I said, if it resonated, resonate. With me, what I got from that is I reflected on the fact of like, the shit I would give my energy to. I thought I had to fight every battle when it came to people speaking them on me and doing everything. And in some way, somehow, the divine always either gave me insight or clarity later to be like, their issue with you ain't got nothing to do with you. Sometimes people are going through shit that has to do with, again, childhood development, their own personal insecurities, or what they haven't faced or made peace with. And they want to make it yours, even when you're trying to rise and be better. They want to project, because that's all most of this shit is people projected from their personal experiences. And so, even with that, for me, it immediately brought up certain people where I didn't have to destroy them. Like for me, I got to a place where like, when you're in tune, or you have, these natural gifts to do certain things to like, it's just like someone want to be revengeful. You decide how to counter those attacks. And it can be through like, one thing I've learned in loving myself more, that's how I defeated a whole bunch of versions that I couldn't hold on to. And even when I look at people, I'm like, it's something in there that I could recognize that was about me, or the energy I used to be in. So when it says you destroy them by outlasting them, I'm like, for me, I made a video before on this channel that I talked about how like people who said certain things and don't realize how much it motivated me or how much I alchemized it or how much I transmuted it, and in outlasting them is them realizing like they have to watch from the bleachers. Even in, them deciding to be an enemy of themselves and or me, which I realize reflects them, they refuse to be an ally to the versions of themselves that they hate, or the versions of themselves. Again, I tell y'all, people didn't have the privilege to accept, to embrace, or, so that the enemy that they really is with them, or they never met peace at what their mom and dad or somebody else, whomever it was. So a lot of them has this bitter taste in their mouth to feel like this is how they're going to treat other people. This is also how they built their projects or foundations and corporations and business, off the backs of being enemies of other people, which really reflects themselves. So now it's like, I realize like a part of that outlasting also reflects the ancestors, the spirit guides, the things that come before us, or the people who came before us, and in their ability to try to overcome things. Life happens because you don't just stay in the physical forever. Everyone transitions. But that's why you hear people say, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams, or I'm a continuance. And we are. And that's the beauty of even me when it comes to my name. It's like when I learned how to be a good judgment of character, I had to see not just my mom, but I had to see the shit she was going through that had nothing to do with me. So now being a good judgment of character is realizing and bettering myself. I cannot be around that. I cannot associate myself. That's so many other people. That's personally. I have to go back to myself and realize, you know what, this is not for me. And that's where it becomes this, it can seem you're teeter-tottering back and forth. And that's the spiritual warfare in it, or that's the you being able to see what's attached or what has been attached to your family, why people operate or demonstrate or act the way they do. So it is naturally, those who are in tune spiritually start to recognize, they're able to see, oh, sometimes that ain't even really them. It's something that they battling with. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing where a lot of, when you go into spiritual warfare, it's like, you realize like this battle ain't yours. Sometimes it can be yours personally, but then the war is won when you realize like, can I make peace with this? Can I love myself through it? Because something's pulling me this way, while this person here in the relationships want to pull me this way. And a lot of this shit has to do with, they want you to drown in what they do. They want you to show up for them, when there has to be a balance between you showing up for yourself. And that can become very uncomfortable with people, because what it does is that you got to learn to lead people where they at. And that's one of the greatest lessons that I had to learn. And now I'm being more aware of walking away from people. That good judgment and character thing came into where now I'm recognizing like the thing with my name. I'm like, yo, reputation, like who you associate yourself with. A lot of those things is spiritual and it's physical, because it affects your character, or it affects what and who and what is in alignment of your highest good here, your purpose. And some people don't want to stand in there. They don't want to walk in there. They don't want to acknowledge that. And that's where it becomes almost like pulling teeth for a lot of people, very difficult. So that's one thing I realized, like, man, that was one of the greatest lessons. Also, it's like I said, I'm getting a deeper awareness and even like learning like identity theft, because I'm like, why wouldn't someone like, I'm not going to cover that this time, but learning more about my name. And then like, even I told y'all about like my mom using my information and stuff like that. Like, people don't realize how vital that is when it comes to what you're here to overcome in this lifetime, what you're here to rise above, what you're here to do in you having children. When you talk, people talk about Like if it's meant for you to stabilize something, not just emotionally, but obtain something like a home, property, housing. A lot of that shit has to do with breaking generational cycles and even the spiritual warfare of, the internal shit your mother and father never obtained, had the opportunity, but in their free will, they chose to do what? Struggle with drugs, substance abuse, again, spiritual warfare, or do other things to where, it derailed them from elevating, from evolving. So now, when you have the opportunity, that's why I kind of feel like a lot of us are living out things that could be similarly energetically in how we evolve and progress our lineage. A lot of us are here to break those fucking cycles and be generational curse breakers. Because I'm telling you, personally, there's things where I realize my mom and dad, they never accomplished or they never did and don't realize, then also I realize a lot of things spiritually, due to their inability to evolve, they won't receive clarity because they chose differently. They didn't want to do anything else. They wanted to stay in the comfortability of lower nature or a certain mindset. They didn't want to learn more about the world they experienced. They didn't want to experience more, you know. And, this is where a lot of things emotionally, mentally, spiritually come into play. And so this is why they're not able to walk through doors, go through places where you're supposed to. What else? Like I say, a lot of stuff is, man, I just get what else I want to get to. Yeah, that was a bit, like I said, being a good judgment of character, learning who people really were, and me being so fucking naive and so clueless to the fact of like, you don't know nothing about this person. Then the whole time you don't move away, and then the truth start really being revealed, not only when you're there, but you're so blinded because you just think love is love. Nah, it's more than just love. It's more, it's deeper than that. So now I start to recognize like I got a lot of clarity on people after I departed, after I left certain stuff. And it's more than just a person. Like I said, it's you don't know what people haven't made peace with in their spirit, and that really affects people. It doesn't matter who you are. Like I said, it doesn't matter who your mom and dad was. It don't matter what type of career, what money they have. Everyone's personally is going through something, and everyone here is. No one's exempt from karma or learning lessons. That's what makes it an individual thing and a collective thing. And that's the beauty of like the balance and finding being neutral or stabilizing. It's like you have to find your what it is that centers and stabilize you. Because once you realize, like in breaking generational curses, you realize the curse is the fact of what people became complacent with. Like that's the curse in itself. It's like what people became so comfortable with. Because they don't recognize the gift until they recognize what's been keeping them in the dark and for how so long. What's been keeping themselves as an individual. And most of the time it's people inability to see the depths of themselves or love themselves or recognize parts of themselves that were never loved, that was abandoned. Basically bringing it back to self is like the things that kept them from getting to know them instead of wanting to know everybody else. Because you'll never know the depths of anyone else. From my perception, it's like a lot I recognize, even my trust issues. I realized I had to trust me more. The parts I wanted to love people, I had to love me more. The things I wanted to stabilize, whether emotionally, mentally, financially, and so forth, I had to pour into me more. So again, that comes with discernment and being a good judgment of character to really see what is valuable to people. And the world is revealing itself. What do people value? That was difficult for me because being a good judgment of character is like even recognize the things you don't want to see in a spouse, in a relationship, in people, and so forth. And when you're not able to hone in on that, you will, like, depending on what you grow up in or even have children, you're teaching your kids unconsciously what is that is something to value in their relationships. That's the importance of being a generational curse breaker, bro. That's certain shit I didn't even want to see. Because in my inability to, in my mom or dad's inability to see how that affected me, that was preparing me for relationships that mirror that very thing that they didn't think that was important. But now that I realized, like, that they didn't realize that was valuable. They thought that that was valuable, like the dysfunctionality. Some people assume that that's valuable. To be argumentative, to actually not be at peace with what they're going through, to actually not want to be more stable in whatever way. That's actually valuable to people because that's the illusion, or that's the thing that has been projected or instilled or rooted in them. Like, it's wow. It shows you the instability mentally, emotionally, spiritually on so many levels. You naturally see shit now you didn't want to see at a time that wasn't important, that wasn't valuable. But now it's like, oh shit, this is what this person values. Even if they don't recognize it, they're unconsciously saying this. So that's how certain relationships you can outgrow, because you choose to evolve, because you start to recognize, like, I value peace over arguing with you, or I value being emotionally stable, or financially stable. You know, all these things connect to the fact of how things can be perceived as someone having it all together. In reality, a lot of the world, what this transition, this greatest wealth transfer, it's spiritual first. It's emotional. It's mental. Because the greatest wealth train it ain't just a part of people transitioning and dying, but it's also the souls and the people that are coming into this fucking world. And guess what still follow them? The unresolved shit in the generations, ancestrally. What makes you think that that's what karma is? What makes y'all think you're exempt? So a lot of the things I start to recognize, oh shit, on a bigger and grander scale of this shit, I don't have to do to them what they did to me. Even if people want me to stay in a mindset of, just whatever it is. Because a lot of shit people don't know, you don't counter none of the shit that's been told to you. You just take on the narrative. You take on someone else's belief system, but you never think about countering, well, what if? Or question it. Or even use your discernment to realize, well, maybe this ain't true. It may be true for them, but not for me. And that's the thing where peace is so valuable. You know what? That's their fucking truth. Return to sender. In my way of alchemizing or transmuting it, or whatever I need to do, even if and then when you get to that place where you don't even take it on their projections, that shit just bounce off, or it just literally stays there because you just look at them, or you just go silent, or you just realize, like, I'm just going to go higher. I could go low, but then I realized, like, a lot of what you're going through ain't got shit to do with me. And that's when you realize you leave people with their baggage that they didn't unpack. That's what, like, walking away from dysfunctionality of family and certain things, whomever it is. It's the same energy. It just shows up. And somebody has to be able to see the fucking forest from the trees. That's what divine leadership or whatever you want to call it is. Somebody and something has to be able to see the forest from the trees. And when it involves integrity, authenticity, self-love, self-sufficiency, and so forth, think about the fact of someone having to step out of the leadership. That means in the household where you grew up in, everyone was following whatever it was. They were absorbing, being a sponge. Because naturally we looked at this person, this cousin, this person as a leader. Before we even knew who politicians or a president, like, come on, that shit didn't even matter to us. We didn't give a fuck about those people. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't even know what a fucking celebrity was until when. A lot of shit was introduced. You gotta realize a lot of shit that's introduced is spiritual warfare. A lot of shit that's why a lot of that shit is played out, is outdated. It's a part of restoration is people taking back their power from what they were given unconsciously and what subconsciously was fucking derailing or running their lives. So for me, like I said, think about being somewhere where it's so much pushed into your face where it's like everybody wants you to become this. Even being an artist in so many different ways, I don't want to become like none of these fucking people. I don't want to become like them. I'm doing my shit in my own unique way, however that is. It's not about obtaining stardom. Bitch, I am the star. What? I knew this since I was young. You should know that too. That's what makes you unique and authentic. I don't need someone to come tell me. I had to tell someone the other day, like, I'm not here for my children to like me. They're going to do stuff I don't like. I'm going to do stuff that they don't like. At the same moment, it's still about them realizing, like, you don't need my validation or acceptance. We all come from something higher and greater and bigger than us. We all came here to experience life, to enjoy it through emotions, through cycles, through whatever the fuck it is, and be able to say, at the end of the day, can you say, if I leave this motherfucker, I don't do what I'm supposed to do? And not many people can do that, because I know I can. Because I wasn't born, I know me, what's in my heart. And if I could say, hey, with what I've created, that's what inspires me when I'm able to get up and rise up. The divine basically saying, okay, now you got more to do. You got people who leave this world when they're resting. You got children in the bellies of their mother. You got mothers who have had stillbirths. Do y'all not realize, like, what the fuck is this discussion about? Why the fuck would I be concerned about a celebrity or about this person not liking me or any fucking titles? Or that shit doesn't matter to source. This shit is ignorant. It's so funny how people find all this shit y'all really don't recognize. Like, it's just, it's like energies or certain shit trying to fight to be acknowledged. What used to, at a point in time, think about it. Notice as you fucking drift and elevate and go to something called a higher timeline or a new chapter in your life, notice how that energy or certain shit, people, whatever it is, certain shit will try to resurface. Certain patterns will try to in you to see like if you're ready for something greater. Certain shit will do that. And it's just like preparing for like what they call the off season. Like you trying to master or become better at your craft or whatever it is. Arts, sports, writing, all of this shit, this is what is collapsing. How the fuck as an artist, which I told myself, I'm not leaving this world to wait to inherit it, what I'm supposed to get here. I already have it. It's already on its way. No one else, because that's self-worth, that's value. That's what alignment is. Now this weird ass world and this illusion that's been cast that certain people are supposed to get this and this and this and this. Y'all don't realize that shit is collapsing. It's already collapsed. It's going to crumble in on itself. Because of the Aquarian age and the Pluto and Aquarius is exposing all that which is just built off some self-righteous shit or certain people supposed to get this amount of money. Like I saw some shit today with a fucking auction where this guy had a painting and how much he received from the painting. Now for me, I looked at it so many ways. I told myself, I'm like, well, shit. Who the fuck gave him that? And da-da-da-da. But then I told myself, hold on. Now, as I'm pricing my shit, I'm worthy of that too, and more. So look at life when you were younger. When you think dysfunction was something that was normal. And no, you are worthy of that and more. It's just as much as I thought I was supposed to be consumed and having a dysfunctional family was normalized. It's just as much as I take initiative to be fucking holistic and healthy and break these generational cycles to have a tribe and more that is rooted in value and communities. Communities that value the communion and the union within self and the you and I in union. To find that balance between you and I, but still see the union within self, the unity, the oneness in all of it. Y'all gotta realize a lot of that collapsing, I tell y'all about sports on all levels, is just like what I just referenced here about the low places and the high places of spiritual warfare. Bro, that shit starts from the general. I be telling y'all that. It always starts in the family, ancestrally, to the higher places. From the inner to the outer. So a lot of this stuff, again, y'all don't realize, like, y'all giving so much energy to people. I don't give a fuck about what title they have. Y'all are about to see that there are people that have higher spiritual ranking than the very people y'all let so much emotions, y'all give so much emotions, and that shit was designed that way for all these times right now to be exposed, because even they know. Even those leaders in place, that again, that was their assignment. That's their positioning. Even the people in the communities, even the people in your family, they will all come to know that there are people here that have an anointing that outweighs any fucking material gain, possession, material, anything. And through this decluttering of the corruption, everything would be clear. It's just smoke and mirrors. And nobody can do this no more. Because as much as they throw their stone in the spirit realm, in the higher realms and shit, man, the Most High sees all. The fuck? And this is where the balance is being restored of being a good judgment of character is also being a good, not even good, but more so like the discernment in spirit. And that's all I really want to cover. Y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.